What is going on, guys? Monk7Mad here today with a fantastic tutorial and highly requested tutorial showing you how I made my YouTube avatar. Now in today's video I'm going to be covering a few bits and pieces, including how to make this as well as a potential 1K graphic pack, and also that I'm getting a Blue Yeti microphone to improve the quality of the audio in the tutorials. So first of all, before I start this, I'm just going to ask about what you guys would like in the potential 1K graphics pack. I'm not entirely sure I'm going to make it there, but being that I'm a 900 and something and I barely thought I could make it to 500, I would love to think that I could in fact make it to 1K. And I'd like to know what you guys would like to see in the pack. Do you want to see some Photoshop stuff? Do you want to see some Cinema 4D stuff? Do you want some more random custom textures? Do you want some color corrections? In the description I'll have a list of a few bits and pieces. Choose 2 or 3 bits and put them in the comments section. The way that this pack is going to work is that the highest voted piece that you guys put in the comments will be in the pack. If you don't vote for what you want, then chances are some of that stuff might be in there, but there will nowhere near be as much focus on that. So please make sure that you do comment on your preference for a potential 1K pack content. Now, in the interest of this video, I have actually pre-made some of the components so that I can just explain the general train of thought and how I got there. If you haven't already seen my professional YouTube intro tutorial, I advise that you do so, as it gives a very good guideline on how to go about designing your own logo. The actual file itself here I'm going to put in the description, excluding my logo, so if you want to imitate the style then you can do. So this is the tutorial for the how to make a professional logo or avatar, and I'll put that in the description so that you can link to it, and hopefully that will also help clear up any sort of questions that I might miss out here. So let's turn these 2 layers off and let's zoom out a little bit, and we'll turn the pattern off as well. So the first thing that I wanted to do with my logo was, initially I was looking towards the letter M, and generally when I start out with my logos I always start off with a font first, because sometimes fonts can be extremely helpful when going about designing part of a logo, because if it can do part of the job for you, then that is great. If I use this one for example, I don't know how well this is going to turn out. Okay, very fine, a very plain and basic M. Okay, not really the thing that I was after, but I could go through and I could have looked for something a little bit more towards my style, or just in general your own preference. Sometimes you might actually get a bit lucky and some of the stuff, you know, maybe it's exactly what you want. I know that's not the case, but you get the gist that sometimes experimenting with a basic font can give you the base or the starting point for the sort of logo ideas that you might have. I mean, let's use that one for example. Okay, very unusual. I mean, I can't honestly tell that's really an M. It's a little bit confusing, but sometimes it can help. In terms of my logo though, I actually primarily focused on using the polygon lasso tool, and on new layers I would just generally scribble general shapes. So if you wanted to get dead accurate lines, one fantastic thing about the polygon lasso tool is it has a snap lock feature, so that when you press shift it locks the line to a 45-degree angle, or at 45-degree angles. So we've got 0 degrees, 45 degrees, 90 degrees, and so on. And this became extremely helpful because I could lock the 45-degree sort of drawing point in, so that I'd get these really nice, sharp, crisp edges. And those of you that have seen my tutorials before, or my channel before, would know that I focus quite a lot on sort of a grunge-based look. And that's just sort of my style. I quite like the dark and powerful, sort of sophisticated logos and backgrounds. They just stand out to me. They're not everyone's preference. Some people like sort of artistic 2D, and it continues anyway. What I had started to do in the very early stages was just sort of muck around with the shapes and see what I could come up with, because I mean, I always try and emphasize the fact that you should try and experiment as much as possible, because sometimes, and this has happened to me on multiple occasions, where I've gone to design something and had some thought in mind, but accidentally designed something that actually works better. And it's simple things like that that, you know, make me want to continue to try and experiment a bit. And man, this shape is really going appallingly drawn. So I do want to apologise actually for my inaccuracy of drawing. Most of the time I would just sort of choose half the logo that I wanted, or part of it anyway, cut part of it off, and then I would just duplicate that bit that I wanted and transform, flip verticality, or the vertices, and I would just then connect the layers together. So you get the gist that you can sort of experiment with these, and you can sort of cut them in bits and experiment with different sort of styles. And that was sort of the first, I guess, stage in the process for making the logo. And when I'd gone through sort of this phase, that's starting to look a little bit like the monster slash actually. Let me just group these up for a minute. So Control G to group and turn the visibility off. So here are my stage shapes. So after sort of the initial first phase, these, well actually this last one here didn't come about until the very end. These, let's focus on these two for the minute. So these are they're actually the same shape, but I drew those using the polygon lasso tool to the 45-degree angle, and I just sort of experimented with how to connect them together, because I didn't want everything to be a perfect fit. I just wanted some sort of small split in them that gave it some sort of intricate look, and that pretty much created this sort of trend. And I just sort of, this was actually an accident how this came about. It was just literally me duplicating that and shrinking it so that I could actually fit it on the page, and when it sort of landed in place, it sort of looked pretty good. When it sort of gets to this stage though, don't forget that you can still modify parts. So I mean, here the sort of distance gap is not exactly 45 degrees, so I could make a new layer, go along and make the adjustments. And this is probably the longest part of the logo, was making the adjustments afterwards to keep everything sort of neatened up. And I did definitely make sure to try and connect, not quite connect, but I tried to get these all quite close together, and also an exact straight point. Now with these bits here, what I'd do is I'd actually merge all the layers together, and I would get the polygon lasso tool, click on the bottom point here, hold the shift tool while on the polygon lasso, and lock it to 45 degrees, and then I could just cut an exact dead straight line to keep it looking really, really prim, I guess, or really neat. And when I got sort of this first section, it was just a case of edit, transform, flip horizontal, move it across, and that just gave it the basic shape. And then all I did was literally fill in the missing piece. And you know, I had to sort of crop this quite a lot and make this first. Since I scaled this up, it's a little bit uneven now, but I'd lined it all up and did the same thing that I did to the base a moment ago, where I chopped it exactly level. And let's just take this piece and edit, transform, flip horizontal. This middle bit was actually joined together for quite some time, but then I decided that since the rest of the logo had sort of split sections, that I would just chop a piece from the middle at random, and I guess hope for the best. And it did sort of work out. And I know this is, why is this society to be a little bit more uneven? Right. So I know this is probably not looking as accurate as my current one, but it did take me quite a long time to actually make the current one that I have. I've put a lot more time into making sure this was a lot neater and a lot more accurate. Anyway, when I'd actually created the shape, it was just a case of merging them together, duplicate the layer with Control J. Then to get the style which I had, first off you go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and just sort of experiment with the blur radius. You don't want it to be sort of too crazy like out here, but you know, experiment with it. You know, don't be put off by sometimes if it doesn't look 100% right at face value, because for you to then put that behind and turn the opacity down, it looks a lot neater. And then when I add the pattern on top, it looks slightly more neater, and then you can make the adjustments to the glow again if you want. And the thing about the pattern which I've added here, I'll just quickly show you what it is as well, is that it darkens the whole piece down. Now this pattern is actually, ooh, let me just unlock it a second. This pattern is actually a very plain basic pattern. It just uses horizontal lines, and I think it's something like a 1 by 1 pixel split, so the lines are very close together. If the lines on your ones are slightly thicker, then, you know, just experiment with the scale, bring it down a little. Sometimes I find that just a case of tweaking the scale on some things, including gradients, can make a pretty big impact. So if I was just to go here with 225, which is not my original by any means, that doesn't look too bad, you know. But sometimes it also doesn't do it very much favours in the software. So if you want an accurate view of how it'll look when you save it, go to File, Save for Web, and get a look at it here. This is where you get the most detailed view. Then if you don't want it, cancel it, then change the scale or whatever it is that you need to change. If I now go back and try it again, so File, Save for Web, and I get a look, you can see the lines, if I zoom in here, are much closer together, and it looks pretty good. So that would have been it for me. Then I would have saved it and, you know, uploaded it, and that would pretty much cover my logo tutorial. So I'd like to thank you all for watching, and don't forget to comment on the content that you'd like to see in the potential 1K graphics pack. So thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoy. If you're interested in any more tutorials, head over to my channel. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a fantastic day.